exhaustive experience on any of this because it's right away there. We can get it started and then see how it all works together. I thought of giving a very brief introduction about this tool, and probably if time permits, I can go over it. Like one of the use case, I'll pick it and then I'll showcase how it's all coming together, right? Um, and with that said, I'm just setting an expectation here. I mean, do you have any other questions on that? Anyone?
Nothing here.
Perfect. Okay, so to start with, so what this phenomenon, this Snowflake AI phenomenon means, right? So when you log into Snowflake UI, you would see a new thing in the right on the left side. For example, so this is how I normally log in, right? I mean, you log in and then you have a Snowflake UI, and you see something called AIML. So now it is visible. So this is where you all start to where you to configure these things. They have a bunch of things like Studio, and then we have Cortex Analyst and other things and so on, agents. And you see Snowflake Intelligence with hyperlink provided, and it will open in a new tab. So what this means, right? Like Snowflake Intelligence, they call it as intelligence. The reason being is, so it is comprised of 2 or 3 things, as you see. So Snowflake Intelligence is a suite available in Snowflake UI. Okay, so this suite comprises of agent number one, which sits on top of it, and then what this agent does is it plans, it tracks the details about a response. It most very importantly, it chooses the right tool to work with. That is the main purpose of this agent. Okay, and then it reflects in the sense it dynamically it will adapt, meaning based on your response and feedback that you provide to the response, it will take that into the consideration and will work on it and then try to fine tune it. Okay. So very interesting detail. They have something called Claude. There is a component called Vanilla Claude 3.5. Snowflake adopted that and then it built the Claude machine learning model to Snowflake Cortex. They integrated both. So the good thing about Snowflake AI is like it is sitting on top of the Snowflake, the data that you have, the data lake or the EDW, whatever that we're bringing it into the account level that resides there. So as you see, these tools can supply 3 different things, mainly the Cortex search, they call it as. So here, the idea is this tool would go and search the data within a PDF or any text file or CSVs or any type of file based that you want to do some search, Excels, all things. So it basically opens a file, given that permission, it opens a file and then it tries to navigate that and then concise all this information into a meaningful business form. Okay, and then provide a response to it. Cortex Analyst is pretty straightforward. It is nothing but a schematic view of data that you have on the Snowflake. So it's EDW, for example, if you take, we have a bunch of tables, 400 plus tables available. So, and you know what tables to join with what and what for what type of questions being asked. For example, right? Let's say a user or business is asking a question about, hey, what was my sale yesterday in this particular location? Okay, so what we would do, we take that query and then we go and then do an engineering work to bring the data from RISA and other tables, and then we tuple and then we create a table in EDW. That's the first thing in data engineering work. So once a data engineering work, think about a data analyst. He wants to answer that question from business. What was my sale yesterday? So what he would do, he would go and query the table, right? you say that, this is a table name, select all from this table name where the day key or, any transaction date, whatever it is for yesterday, and location key is equal to some location that he goes, right? So here, if it is everything available in one table, he will just straight away query the table and get that information from. And then for a specific location, he sum it, like, he sum that sales column, and then he give that amount back. That is the purpose of the data analyst. Think of it, a Cortex analyst is nothing but a data analyst. Okay, as simple as it is. So like how you give a particular requirement to a business analyst or data analyst, similar way, go and give a requirement to the Cortex analyst. Hey, I want this, sale. I want to know the traffic or why it happened. Can you give me some breakdown? Some kind of questions you are asking, right? So that goes to the Cortex analyst. Okay, so behind the scenes, this Cortex analyst is going to write a SQL behalf of you, like behalf of data analyst or business analyst, get that information from, and then give that back to the agent. Okay. Likewise, you can also create your own Python scripts. For example, right? When you say, I know this data exists in the tables. I know there is a data exists in my files, but instead of you doing this work, I can create a simple Python script, right, to combine everything into one particular data view, which I think could be more useful for you in answering a specific question. Like for example, right, if you take, let's say, I want to do some forecasting, okay, and I know the set of business rules. Either I go and do a business data engineering work and then create a table out of that form, or I simply put, I can create a simple Python script to understand or get more forecasting capabilities from the existing libraries available in the market. For example, for Facebook has tons of libraries. Google has a lot of libraries. So using that, like I'm going to project something. So this is what the data science team would do, right? They pick that and then transform the data and then give more meaning to it, and then load the data into a data set in the form of file, or I can directly use this Python code here. This is what the custom tool is going to be, right? For example, I do the web search or I do send email. I'm going to use this existing Python script to understand the forecasting. All things can be done. So what it does is, right, this tool, by asking first when you submit a user submit a question from the Snowflake AI, this is a simple interface I'm going to show you, right? When you submit a question, this submitted question would first get into the agent. This is where the orchestration comes in. So the term orchestration is like, it understands what type of questions being asked and what agent to choose for. So this is where the interesting thing happens. If you're asking a specific question about, for example, I want to go through all the contract documents, I want to go through, the PO documents that we have, and to help me understand which PO was sent on particular day, right? It goes and correctly dissect that information and then go and look for that information there. This is where the interesting thing happens. So for us to start with in Belk, right? I'll come to this portion later. So far, any questions on that? Anyone?
Awesome. For all the tables, it will automatically identify the joins, and for each column, do we need to give the metadata and create a view kind of thing, or like it will understand itself or something?
It will understand itself. I'm going to show you how it is done, Muki. But
Okay.
so far, any questions, anyone? What this all about? What is Snowflake intelligence? How things work?
Yeah, awesome. So this is the agent what we are talking about. It acts as a chatbot agent in this case, right?
Correct. The chatbot is nothing but a UI here.
Yeah, UI. We whatever question we ask, like we any other chatbot, we in Confluence we have. Um, I think basic chatbot is there. Like
Mhm.
what is the particular application you put, it will search the data from within Confluence itself and provide the contextual information. Okay, this is the
Correct.
one that I understood, and relevant documentation is below, something like that.
Correct. Exactly. So here, instead of document, it is going to look for multiple things, not only documents, the data, and then other functions also. We are anything you build out of it,
Yeah.
and tell Snowflake that you got to look into this. It does.
So it determines which tool to use based on what we ask, whether to choose
Correct.
files or data tables or the custom function that we built it.
Correct. Exactly. So I'm going to show you this. So if no other questions, I can go to the next slide. So this is the cycle, right? I mean, how it works. So a user is going to input a question to the Cortex. So through the Snowflake AI UI. So it first, there is an API, Cortex agent, that takes that question and get that information to the correct orchestration. So the orchestration is that one which determines whether to look for which tool that I have to choose. For example, I have to use Cortex Analyst to do SQLs, or I have to use the Cortex Search to do the PDF analysis, and so on, right? And here you got to be very specific when it comes to orchestration. Let's say a user can ask specific questions in different formats. For example, Don might ask questions in different way than other VPs might ask, right? Or we ask. So we got to tell that an orchestrate the tool, hey, when you get that kind of question, for example, if people say FOB, right? Then you always go on and give a breakdown for a particular data level. Irrespective of what type of questions asked, like go and then search all the different FOBs and then give a breakdown. All these things importantly, you got to define it properly, and then it got to be like specific to a particular use case. We should not boil the version. That's important thing, right? If you're building an agent, that agent should solve the specific problem. For example, think about I am going to have a data analyst or business analyst, multiple business analysts. One business analyst will be working on the sales data. The other business analyst is specialized on the inventory, and then another business analyst specialized on the traffic and other things, or the customer data, right? We can build separate agents for that. And then the more you build, it should not be more granular. At the same time, it should not be very tightly coupled, meaning like all the things should not be in there one agent, because then that will not solve the problem. The agent is what is important thing. So once you build an agent, you got to tell that this is the goal of you. This is how we are going to solve the problem from the questions, user questions. Okay. You got to define these things in the orchestration layer, right? And then more you precisely enter the information, the more better the answer would be. Okay. So once you define that, it picks the table on its own, depending on what type of questions being asked, and then give a response, get that feedback. I know it's a single arrow, but normally it provides a response to the user and get the feedback and work on it again. You can say that, if you don't like that answer, you submit a negative response and you go back and then, it does its own calculation, or it will ask you to reconfirm that, whether am I doing it right. So once you keep, improving that, what type of questions being asked, I mean, whether it is how much of success rate, it is. So this is the overall life cycle of it. Okay. So I did create only a couple of slides, but I thought like, I'm going to spend much of time to explain these things in real time. So this is how this demo is going to look like. So here I'm in Snowflake UI. I have AI/ML. So the studio is where like, they have listed out everything. Like, you say that you want to try this a Cortex Search or Document Playground or in a Cortex Analyst. This is where you can choose, right? And for us, let's say, I have created a couple of models already. Sorry, semantic views already. So this semantic view is what it comes in, the Cortex agent that we're talking about, right? So here there are agents. To give you a background, like Studios where you have all the things nicely put. You can try a few things if you want. Okay, and then the Cortex Analyst is where like you define the semantic view. The Cortex Search is where like you define that, what type of PDF services, where to look for that information and so on. And then if you want to import your own models or features, you can do that model and evaluate it here. Okay. For this context, not going to go there, these things. Like I'm going to look for the specific Cortex Analyst and the agent. Okay. The agents is where like, orchestration happens. So the one that I talked about. The Snowflake Intelligence is like the UI. Okay. So to start with, right, first we need to define a semantic view. For example, right, when I created a couple of them, as you see on top of this bulk EDW DevDB, it will ask you like, what database that you're interested in, right? Because now I know that I want to build it is not something, it's going to look only for the tables here. You can define whatever tables that you want, but this semantic view would be available in this particular database. That is all it means. Like again, like any other Snowflake table, you can go and then join tables online. If you have access to multiple tables, different databases or schemas, you can join everything and then you can pull it into one schema of your choice. So this it works similarly. Here, we have this Roblin schematic. So this is where you say, I'm going to create, let me choose this account admin. Okay. So you can go ahead and anything, you can go and create a new schematic. You can give a name to it and give more descriptions to it. Right. And then you say, I want to give some custom instructions, right? So I can say that what type of questions need to be categorized with what. So I can give more meaning to it. Okay, like what type of questions and all. Next comes the logical tables, right? This is where you say, what are the different tables that I need to look for this particular agent to resolve the problem, right? Let's take sales. I pick the sales table here. Okay. So here you see my favorite sales transaction line item B, this line item level. So once you go and then add a new table, right? And very interesting thing happens. You might think that, I have entered this information. No, everything it captured that and it understood what this table is all about. Okay, and then it understands the different dimensions, time dimensions, what are the different fact columns available. It interpreted everything on its own. That's the beauty of it. So I created this. I went ahead and added this table. It says this table is stored in a detailed information about sales transactions. Let's say I'm going to show you that. Say I'm going to pick one more table. So this table is going to contain this many columns. I'm going to select all the columns and then probably I don't want, the record insert timestamp and update timestamp. It has no meaning to it for my analysis. I'm going to ignore that for now and then going to import all other columns thinking that, okay, and it's going to add some sample values, descriptions, everything. So I'm going to say that, generate logical table. Okay. So what it does is it's going to add the table here. Give me some more time, it will go and then create a lot of interesting things. Straight away it found that, okay, these are the barcode IDs and the state, the zip code, it identified these are all dimensions. Most likely it's correct, but sometimes if it goes out of bound, like, we need to go back and then change that. But if, for example, this is not, if it is not a time dimension, I can go and move it to the facts or time dimension, right? This is how it is going to be allow you. Okay. The idea is like the more, because I know for fact this is not a fact, right? I can move it to the particular time dimensions. So this is about the logical table. Let's give them some more time for it. And this is where you're going to define the derived metrics. Like, for example, you want to subtract two sales columns. You can go and create a, say that I want to do this, put an expression, put a metric, like how we do it for MicroStrategy. Simple, straightforward. And then the most important thing is the relationships. You want to know that, what type of join that has to happen. Right. For example, we created a new table, attribute lookup. Now I'm going to create that attribute join. Once you're done with that, so what you can ask this, you can go and test this. I click this generate fields and it already talked about this table contains records of sales transactions, specific details about the transaction context and participants, and all other details. It contains a location, timing. It created a synonym, customer sales, sales data, transaction attributes, and you can go and create a primary key of that. We all know that it is transaction ID, and any unique key that on top of it, you can add it. Takes a while. It's invalid attribute shown. That is not correct. Let's say once you define that, I know I can ask some questions. See, so now I'm going to So it's going to create the sales. This is for dev. Okay, so that's why it's not giving back any results. But if you move to production, you will get more for more important things. Let's say slightly, if you don't ask any questions for yesterday. You got to have time to understand, okay, whether it is doing it correctly. So here it is going and taking that it's not doing it right. It says location key equal to 452, which is not right. Okay, so let me first remove this for now. Because you got to remove this. So once you submit this, you can save this information, but before that, you got to verify this sequels are right. Okay. This is the total sale. So look at that. It is the last date. It is using div. So if you know that what was yesterday, it will go ahead and then put the correct question. Then you ask the same question for last year. Not sure whether we have data. Look at this. Say once you get that right, you're going to say that I'm accepting this query. Right? I say it's writing the query correctly because it is doing a left outer join. It is doing a sum. It pulls the location ID and then assigns one, and it was using the entire month from this date to end of this entire complete month of February 2024, and it is matching with what my question is. The more you validate and then save this, this is going to adjust it and then save that. It will save it. Okay. So once you save this, right? I mean, you can also monitor like how many people have asked the questions and so on. So once you do that, the good thing about like it is all listing out fine, right? I mean, once you're done with that, you go to that particular agent, and this is where you're going to teach that agent what to look for. I'm going to give you the name, and then I'll put some sample questions. The questions that you want to see in the UI, AI UI. And then you're going to define what tool that I have to prefer. For example, here you can define 3 different tools called search or the custom tools that I talked about. So then that slide, right? I mean, we have this. So Cortex Search Analyst and then the custom tools. This is where it is. I'm going to say that I want to pick this transactions, for example. You see this and then say where my schematic view is stored. I've saved that in. It's going to let you that, okay, this is the tool this is semantic view that you have to look for. This once you define a semantic view is nothing but kind of, view mechanism that you have. Say that, okay, these are the tables I'm going to use and join and to answer this type of questions, right? I'm going to define that. You can add as many semantic views on it, like, and then say some friendly name you're going to give it. For example, answers and generate with Cortex. It's going to give you based on what type of tool that you choose. Everything is automated. So basically what it does, like, it analyzed this semantic view that it created. And I said, okay, these are the tables that are available in this. And this is what I figured, okay, this is something for each column. This is the table description that I think could be correct. You can go and correct it. And then say that, okay, this is what I think the list of columns are. And this is what the description of my columns are. For example, the VAT included indicator, this is right. So anything, it will allow you to go and edit it. If you think that something is not right, you can go and edit it. Okay, it says it's not GeoZone surrogate key. You can also say that, do not exclude the more you type in and the more precise your thing is, it's going to work out accordingly. So it says, these are tables. This is what my understanding is. Okay, this is my reasoning and this is my description about it. So it will allow you to first generate and you can go and fine tune it further. Right? This is what the semantic view integrates. I'm going to ask this key questions about sales transaction, product catalog, and then this. And then it says that. Now I'm going to cancel it because I've already added that information here. So once you're done, right, you can go and then say the more you can ask this, like if user asks about a breakdown, give a breakdown of sales revenue, you can add as many orchestration instructions that you want. Okay, so to the response instructions and so on. Like the response can be like, be more polite. Always two-digit precision. Decimals. So once you do that, right, save it and then try your test. Okay, the one that we asked. See, we already verified this query, so it's going to make use of it. Using the verified query, what type of path it has to take. And then it pulled this. This is the total sales by FOB for location 1 in February 24. That's it. You can view that, table that, and once you're all good, right? Once this is all, you find that it is all working, you just go and open that AI. This is something accessible by everyone. So you can have a new chat. It's also going to say that, okay, this is something Anish and myself, we tested it with different type of questions. You can ask as many questions that you want. Okay? The more you ask questions and give feedback to about it, like, it's better the answer would be. There's a feedback mechanism to everything. It's not helpful, it's going to take it and then, fine tune it. So that's all about this Cortex Analyst and how things work. So any questions?
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Yeah,
That's
really, it's
very
great.
nice.
Yep. So we may be wondering how did it interpret, FOB? Because FOB is the business term that we use. Where like we have defined FOB in any of the columns or tables. So this is where you got to define these things very clearly about, in the semantic view. For example, product item lookup, we know that these are all the dimensions. We know division description, right? This is nothing but an FOB. I say that, this is division description. I gave a synonym FOB.
Awesome.
Once you give it, like, it'll understand it.
It's so important because the terminology doesn't always match the data and people shorthand things. And so it's terrific to have that.
It's pretty terrific. So the important thing is it will try to gather details as much as it could. And it will also allow you to, type your own wordings, change it, and refine it. That's it.
Terrific.
Yep.
It's really been awesome to see it in action.
Yep. The idea is we need a proper data analyst who understands this business to work on this. That's all. So given that, like, we are all experiencing this, like, we can quickly get that done started and start building it. Okay. But each and every agent should have a purpose, as I said. We should not be creating too many agents, and as well as one agent will solve all the different problems in the world. No, that won't work. So my idea here is, like, to start with the sales agent, and then, and add more details to it, from the RISA tables, whatever questions that can be asked from the RISA EDW tables, we will make use of it and create an agent for it. Likewise, we'll create another agent for, retail next, for example, the next one. And once you're done, like, we can give these two things to the end users for the testing it. Let them test it and then say what how they feel about it. And then, we will get the feedback, work on it, try to make it better. And we slowly go to the other areas. And the other way also to look for is, for example, we have MicroStrategy reports, lots and lots of reports. Take one example, Harley reports, right? I mean, we know what are the fields being used, where those fields are coming from. Can I build an agent, to answer questions from it, or one or two agents to answer the questions from Harley sales? So once you do that, like, it's all available. They just need to go and then type the question and then keep getting the answers from. So that's about it. Bala, hopefully this is going to be helpful for you, Bala, what I was talking about.
Yeah, Vasan. As you mentioned, hourly sales, we can create one and we can share it with leadership. They more cared about hourly sales. If hourly sales is not there, where is hourly sales?
Right.
So I think they can simply type it and get the answer from.
Yep.
Even though the report is not out, but we have the data on their pocket.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for this thing, like, you need expertise on the functional side of it.
Correct.
what
Yeah.
to look for. And you should know this basic SQL to
Correct.
understand it. That's pretty much it. Like, if you know that, you will get this answers from.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Cool. Anyone else?
Thanks, Vasant. Thank you so much for the session.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Yep, have a good one.
All.